Thursday, the 9th of March, 2023. This evening's show, we review the creditable draw at home to league leaders Burnley last Saturday. We look ahead to this weekend's fixture away at Bristol City. And we also catch up on the latest news from Bloomfield Road, including the structured meeting minutes that have been released even today. I'm John Esmeralda, this is Seaside's podcast. Extra time show, Burnley review and Bristol City preview.
A small town from the north of England with a great tradition.
I was just about to let out a massive burp then, and I've just been drinking some Diet Coke. Wouldn't have been the best intro. Unmute yourself, gentlemen. Only Sakir has done so. Fresh from day out canvassing, Sakir.
Consummate pro, you see.
Suited and booted. Mitch, welcome back. Good to have you back, mate.
All right. Nice to be here.
We have all missed that skull wallpaper.
With a skull in the middle of it.
The skull foreground and the skull background. Shame he wasn't here on the Stoke game, as I'd said.
Absolutely. Well, I was on the pitch, wasn't I?
Nick, good to have you back.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, John.
Yeah, everybody, welcome on the stream, welcome on the audio pod. If you're listening, and welcome, Raggy. Thanks for coming on, mate. Obviously, it's been a really trying week for yourself and everyone who knew Tony. Absolutely terrible event, and we'd like you just to start out really with just a bit about the man, Tony himself. We knew Tony by face, but I didn't know him personally, so we're not going to go out, go around the ins and outs of what's happened, but I'd just like you to tell us a bit about Tony and what he was like as a pal.
Yeah, thanks, John. Obviously it's been awful week for everyone, and I think it's affected far more people than anyone would have imagined. It's certainly, me and my mates think we're big and hard, and we're all in tears for the last bleeding 3 or 4 days. It's heartbreaking. Listen, he was a great bloke. He was just, I got really close to him over the last few years. Known him for a long time in terms of football circles, and he's got a lot older friends than me that have known him all his life. But he loved the Armfield Club. He loved everything to do with it. He was always involved. He was someone that we drank with a few nights a week. It was only last Thursday he was in the club with me. We've not opened it tonight because I was due to go down, but I just wasn't really in the frame of mind for it, to be honest with you. So it was his birthday last Thursday, and we had a great night in there with his missus and that. And it's a shame. The whole thing's just sad. I wrote a piece about it yesterday, sort of, that somebody put up online, and it says it all in there, really. It's sad. It's unfortunate. Not going to have a load of hypocrites turning around and saying, we've all got involved in silly things in the past, and it's just for people to wake up a bit, really, and say, it ain't worth it. But it was just an unlucky event. And like I said on there, I feel sorry for anyone and everyone involved, even though it's happened. No one meant for it to happen. The lad from Burnley won't have meant for it to happen. And, him and other people and others involved are going to end up with their lives affected now in a big way, I would imagine. But, but look, Tony was a great Blackpool through and through. Loved it, home and away. Loved it. Loved everything about it. And he epitomised sort of like the Armfield Club. He just fit in there perfectly. He was all about Blackpool. A fun-loving guy. Loved his family. Loved his mates. Loved the drink. Loved the football. Just a sad event. But, it's heartwarming to see everyone. The amount of people that turned out on Monday at such short notice was it's memorable, for want of a better word. And the club have been fantastic. We're so honoured to have a club like that, a football club. I know they did it in the face of some criticism from some quarters of social media and other fans and rival fans, which is understandable. I know what people are saying, and they're going to say them things, but you know, it doesn't matter. It's happened, and our club stood up and remembered one of their own, and I'll be forever grateful for that. And I'm sure the family are, and they will be going forward, and it'll hopefully everyone coming together will just soften the blow slightly if it's possible. But, you know, message to everyone else as well, like I did say yesterday, a lot of people miss you when you're gone. And don't need any daft things happening to people and people getting involved in daft things either. It's you stretch far further than you think with people that like you and love you. So that's it, really.
Draghi, can I just add, and just really to expand on what you said about Monday? I obviously I'm based quite close by, so it was relatively easy for me to get down. But what really sort of resonated with me was firstly how many people we were able to get there at such short notice, because it was during working hours, and I think there was only about 3 hours notice. And also, and it's just really what you say about the club, it wasn't just a few people from the club turned out. Everybody who works at the football club who was available and on site was out there. They were out there before we even turned up, which was incredibly respectful and sort of made the occasion, if anything, because it was a case. It was quite moving, and not just from the point of view of what had happened to Tone, but also from the point of view of seeing the club all come together. And it doesn't, you know, the circumstances are for another day, but an incredibly tragic event. And you saw how many family members were there and the impact it's all going to have on them for a very long time, and in some cases forever. So it brings it all home. But it was the way that the club and the fans came together. Nobody said a word for about 15 minutes, and the Reverend did a nice job. And the hierarchy of the club were there, the players were there, and and even the kit man, the youth team coaches. It was a special moment, I think, and it's very hard to take any positives about what happened. But I think the support that was shown for the family in that 15-20 minute segment on Monday afternoon, I would like to think they'll take some comfort from that.
Yeah, well said as well, because it is, and it does need saying that it was the entire club that came out, players and everything, office staff, like I say, shop staff, everybody. And and hopefully it does give a bit of comfort, and at least they know the man was loved by many. And listen, credit to Blackpool town, the tower, the fans, the people that turned up that didn't know him or partially knew him, or just the amount of people that turned up there was quite moving. Even when we walked over from the club with a mass of people, we got round there and there was double the amount round there, wasn't there already? And it was it was fitting for a good man.
And Raggy, obviously, it's going to affect Tony's family that he's gone. You've started up a GoFundMe that's in excess of, I don't know, 13,000.
13,000. Yeah, I'll just clear one little bit up because it was slightly higher than that. But unfortunately, somebody donated and he had to ring me, bless him, and say, I didn't put the point in. He donated £2,500 and he meant to donate £25. So it initially went through the roof straight away. And I thought that's a sizable donation, and bless him, like he didn't know what to say. But obviously it's a mistake, so that's why it came down. It was up to nearly 15. It came back down, but that's why, if anyone didn't know why it had sort of dropped.
I must admit, when I saw who it was and they met the size of the donation, I thought that is just weird. It's just I didn't get it, and I thought maybe he's put in for a load of people, but I thought even that doesn't quite make sense on such short notice. So. Yeah. Listen, I think we've all been there, haven't we, with fat fingers, and
that's it. And listen, like I said to him, look, it got instant publicity, the fact that it had risen so quickly. So he'd probably done a good thing, He's probably done it a favour, really. So so that's what it is. So we've got a good amount. We're obviously going to leave it running, and we've got plenty more to. We've got to sort things out from the Armfield that we're going to do for his wife in particular as well, and. Obviously, all the details and arrangements after that are down to the family, but we're there. We're in contact, and whatever they need, we'll be doing and sorting out, and the club have offered as well for various things. So, like I say, we've got a special club, special town, special fan base, as I've always known, but it's certainly shown itself this week.
Yeah. So I've put the GoFundMe URL. It's across the ticker at the bottom, so we'll just leave that running for the entirety of the show. If you're listening on the audio pod, just go to GoFundMe.com. I think if you search Tony Johnson, you'll find him in there. It's also in the YouTube comment. So if you just click that link, if you want to donate to contribute to Tony's funeral and to the no doubt expense hole that it's left in all his family's lives, it'll be great. Just even a $5, $10, it all counts and it all adds up and it'll all help the family. I'm sure it's just an awful time for them. As Raggy just said, I think it makes us closer together. We do bicker as fans, don't we? But these sort of events really bring it on to home how kind of irrelevant football is in the grander scheme of things. But yeah, it's a terrible day for Blackpool fans, the fan base and the club. But as Raggy said, it's bringing us all a lot closer together. I'm going to try and take a positive out of a negative, I guess. Okay, we're going to talk about the Burnley game briefly, obviously, because football kind of takes a back seat on a day like this. Let's have a quick look at the team lineup. Bring that up there. Which was Maxwell, Gabriel, Nelson, Thornley, Thompson, Connolly, Dougal, Carey, Bowler, Garbett and Yates. Nick, you hurried over to me, sat in the Phoenix Club with a bit of insider information, telling me about this lineup. I was like, no, I don't believe you.
Yeah, someone was sitting next to me had it sent through to him saying this was the likely lineup, and came over to have a chat to you, and we were scratching our heads a bit, weren't we, with one or two of them, and wondering where one or two of the others were. I don't think we were feeling massively confident anyway, and then when you see that lineup, probably less so. But as we'll come to talk about it, it actually turned out okay compared to what we thought it might do.
Yep. The game itself, then, Tim. We're not going to, just for the FYI for everyone, we're not going to go through this with player ratings and the normal hullabaloo that we go through. We just kind of pick out a few key moments in the game. Brownill injured on 23 minutes, Tim. I think that was a key moment of the game. He's been a top player for Burnley. And I was quite glad to see him leave the field.
Yeah, because I think as the game started, the what sort of immediately sort of came across to me was, they were playing the ball on the floor all across the pitch, that it was going to feet, that they were keeping possession. And my concern was that it was a matter of time before they scored, because...
Has anyone seen the possession stats, by the way?
It must be 80%, 20, isn't it?
Sort of 82, 80.
Yeah, it was almost like they were toying with us, sort of like trying to drag us out so they could get behind it, and there was obviously, they were clearly playing to a game plan, and it was there, written right across the pitch what they were doing and how they were doing it. And the thing is, they've got great players all over the pitch, and we were huffing and puffing and booting the ball upfielding. So it was.
There was lots of habits, Raggy. I don't know if you noticed. Plenty of habits.
I did. I needed them.
I start shouting it now every time he does it. Habits.
But it was a clash of styles, shall we say? Yeah. And just going back to the lineup, I was a bit concerned about our left-hand side, because you look at the subs bench where you could have played Lyons and Rodgers and then what we played, and I was really, really concerned about how we'd cope down the left. As it turns out, I thought we did quite well. Most certainly better than I was expecting. But it really, I found it a bit difficult to watch at times, because the gulf between them and us, style-wise, confidence on the ball-wise, was so stark. It was it was almost like one of those FA Cup games when you've got the non-league team who are getting behind the ball and just hanging on for dear life. And I was left feeling, you end up thinking, shit, how have we come to this from where we were? And like you say, when the lad goes off, you take comfort from anything, don't you? So when they lose one of the best players, it's a significant positive to us. But when I think back to the halcyon days of the second half of Burnley away and playing at Sheffield United, you do wonder how we've ended up playing the way we are doing, because at that point in time, just before the proverbial wheels came off the Blackpool wagon, we were actually playing quite good football ourselves, and we're a match for anybody. We're a match, other than the first 20 minutes at Burnley away, we're a match for them. We're a match for Sheffield United. And these are the two teams who are running away with the league. And I just scratch my head sometimes and think how we ended up being cloggers, because that's what we look like. Particularly the first, I'll talk about the second half, but in the first half, we looked completely outclassed.
Matt, do you understand how or why Mick's set up like this?
Yeah, I've got quite a different take to that. I quite enjoyed it, because I quite enjoyed that we were clearly sitting deep, and they couldn't get round us. They had one effort on goal, really, that was any good in that half. For a side that have ripped teams to bits, like my mate at work my acquaintance at work, I should say, for political reasons, is a Preston season ticket holder. And he went, "Oh, you've got Burnley, they'll destroy you," because they absolutely wiped the floor with them at their place. They ripped them to bits, they chewed them up, they spat them out, and he said it could have been 8, 9, 10 against them. Whereas at half-time, I ended up thinking, yeah, they've had a lot of possession, but they haven't really done anything with it. They've had that one shot that Maxwell saves, and I thought we were coached. I thought we were actually, for the first time in weeks, we looked as if we were organised. In a way that I haven't seen us like probably since you go back to when we were actually doing okay under Appleton, before it all went wrong. We were very, very clearly playing to a strategy, which was get deep, stay back. I thought it was quite canny how he'd put Carey up front, because he could drop in and make a 5 in midfield, or he could get out with Yates. We nearly broke them. We nearly broke on them twice. Carey burst out. Carey was superb that first half, I thought. he was really, really good, playing where he should play, and he nearly broke out of midfield. And I mean, yes, I got to halftime thinking, fucking hell, it's 0-0. Blimey, I didn't expect that. But actually, I also didn't. It wasn't pretty, but I'm not asked if it's pretty or not. I couldn't care less. And people keep complaining about the style we're playing. We're fighting. This is fighting, tooth and nail, fighting to stay in this division. And if that's how we've got to play, that's how we've got to play. And I also think, yeah, we've got some really skillful players, but there's times when we have put quite a few of the skillful players on the pitch, and there's times when I think Mick swallowed his pride and gone, all right, go out there, get it on the ground. It's not working, oofing it. And we've looked awful. We've looked like we can't do that. And we've got players who are very skillful, but some of those players who are very skillful either might be a bit flaky, might not be the most reliable, might not want to do certain bits of the work. I don't know. I'm not behind the scenes with them. But when we've given them their head and we've given them the opportunity and we've put them on the pitch, albeit for small periods of time, it hasn't miraculously clicked into this footballing whirlwind that we all think we're going to be. And if we can play like that week on week on week on week, I think we can do all right. I think I saw it quite differently from Tim. I sort of quite enjoyed it, but I have to say, I do quite like brutalist football. I do quite like that sort of style.
Anybody who hold is in Middlesbrough.
Well,
I'm not surprised to hear you say that.
Well, Tim, would it surprise you to know that next weekend I'm going for a jolly, this weekend, so I'm going for a jolly just outside of Halifax.
Wow.
So,
that's positively cosmopolitan compared with Middlesbrough, though, isn't it?
Middlesbrough, so.
I'm kind of with Matt John a bit. I think, was pleasantly surprised at half time that it was 0-0, and yeah, we weren't having loads of possession, but like Mark said, there's a very clear game plan, and it was kind of sit and try and nullify their threat. Granted, we weren't creating loads, but we were probably never going to, were we? You know, they've put many teams to the sword this season. I suppose the thing is, going forward, is that going to get you the 5 wins we need between now and the end of the season? At some point, we're going to have to be a bit more adventurous. But Saturday
was not the game to do that.
Not the game to do it, because we'd be sat here talking about being on the right end of a 3-0 probably.
And we had that good chance.
It's now 5 wins, 1 draw, 5 defeats now. It was 5 wins, 2 draws, 5 defeats. It's now we've knocked one of the draws off.
All 4 wins, 3 draws, 3 defeats. Whichever way you want to look at it.
Are you mixing it up now, are you? Tim, shit referees again. We've had the Carey obstruction into the box, which annoyed me. I thought that was a foul in the first half. I don't know if it was a penalty because it was down the other end. But also Connolly being booked for pulling Gudmundsson's shirt, which was a ridiculous booking. And it was just a pattern of him favouring Burnley throughout the first half and the rest of the game.
Yeah, I don't know. Obviously, with him being a Premier League referee, I do wonder
is he? Right, okay.
He sort of knows the Burnley players a bit more from the time in the Premier League.
There you go.
But there does seem to be a recurring theme with these referees, doesn't there? Particularly with what you might call the more established and elite sides, that they seem to let them get away with murder, and then at the same time we seem to get pulled for the most innocuous or maybe the first time we've done something. The Burnley players seem to be very adept at committing the professional foul when they needed to, and it does. I keep seeing it, and they keep getting away with, not just them, but a number of the Sheffield Uniteds as well, and other teams at the top. They seem to get away with repetitive fouling without sanction, and yet we commit one, and it's straight in the book. And when Connolly got his booking, it was like, I think the whole crowd went like, "What?" That's probably the first time that he's done anything, and there's probably 3 or 4 Burnley players who've committed repetitive fouls. Every time, it wasn't often that we broke, but when we broke, they were very, very quick to commit a foul to break it up so they could get the players back behind the ball. Listen, and every credit to them that they do it, and they do it in a way that they get away with, because it's professional. It might not what we want to see as a Blackpool fan, but it's professionalism from them to make sure that those scenarios don't happen. But if we tried that, we'd probably get a player sent off.
Well, I was thinking, if we'd have made that challenge in the second half, that the Burnley guy did, it was similar to one that Carey did at
Tella,
at Turf Moor. He got
it was exactly the same, Nick. Exactly,
he got the red card for, and for them it's
higher up the pitch.
Yeah,
higher up the pitch. Carey was. They were breaking out of their box when Carey took their lad out. Gabriel got over the halfway line when he got taken out. So it was
absolutely. It's and it seems to be the more high profile the ref is, Premier League ref, the worse it is. It's almost like, well, I'm reffing in the Championship, so it's all about me. I've got something to prove here, and we seem to be on the wrong end of it.
It feels like there's a narrative in the ref's head about what the game's going to be before it. Well, it's Burnley versus Blackpool, so Blackpool will be crap, Burnley will be really good. Oh, somebody's fallen over. Well, that must be a foul because it's a Burnley player that's fallen over. It feels like they've prejudged certain games, have prejudged what must be happening based on very limited information about sort of who is a so-called good team and who's not. And he was awful. He really.
Do you also think maybe that our disciplinary records?
Exactly. That plays into
the cogs in everyone's heads was ticking then, wasn't it? Saying the same thing.
Creates that adds to the narrative. I'd
say so.
Blackpool are a dirty side, and therefore I'm going to watch. I'm going to be on top of them from the beginning, and as soon as they start it, I'm going to clamp down on it. where
Well, if
Burnley are the aristocrats of Championship football, and they play beautiful football, never foul anybody. So he's got that in his head before he starts. I think that's fair. I think that is possibly right.
If I could just expand on me make loving from earlier, I think one of the things I also felt about that game, which is I'm starting a one-man defend Mick campaign now, which
you and
is
Jacko together.
Well, yeah, I feel like in that game we had a structure. It wasn't pretty, but the players were comfortable. Actually, we defended really well in that game. There were some really good defensive performances from the sort of the midfield in a defensive sense, the defenders, and sort of the whole unit, even Jerry working back as he always does. And it was the first time I've seen us play in a long time where you felt like the team understood what they were doing as a unit. And as such, there wasn't kind of wild last ditch. Well, I mean, there were some really good last ditch tackles, but there wasn't that kind of wild desperation and panic amongst the team that perhaps characterized us earlier. And we only got one yellow card. And actually, we were playing the best team in the league. They are the best team in the league by miles. And we got one yellow card. And on the back of our disciplinary record, and McCarthy has taken all sorts of crap from people saying, he's this, he's that, he's crap, get him out of the club. It takes time to take a chaotic unit like we clearly were, as much as refs haven't given us the best thing. You don't get 9 red cards by accident. It takes time to get a chaotic unit and make it into something that is a bit more drilled and a bit more solid, where everybody actually knows what they're supposed to be doing, and therefore they're not running, covering each other, out of position, flying in and getting sent off. And I think that's something that is perhaps not, perhaps why he's done what he's done, because you get that, and from that is a base that you can build on.
The second half, I think we were crying out for a change. Raggy, let's come to you. I think the change from Rodgers on for Bowler made a big impact on the game.
Yeah, well, Rodgers will anyway, because he's one of our best players and he should be on the pitch. But I can't listen. I can't fault what happened on Saturday in terms of. Like everyone else, when I saw the team sheet, I thought, oh, bloody hell, namely Don Thompson, because I think he's a bit of a lunatic. But he did all right in the end.
Yeah, played right.
The game plan worked, and in the last 10 or 15 minutes, we could have won that game if we'd have just had a bit more composure, created one or two more things. But we were on him, weren't we? And it was as if we'd just defended it out and then had a goal, which was fair enough. I mean, you can't really argue with it. And 0-0 was a good result against them.
Nick, I think it's fair to say that we were the better team in the closing third of the game.
Yeah.
Bowler was quite rightly substituted, in my opinion. He had a very, very poor game, and I didn't really like to see him throwing his shin pads on the floor, and whether it's in disgust with himself or at the situation, I don't know, but he didn't play particularly well, and he was rightly hooked.
Yeah, it was. It needed a change. It wasn't happening for him. And Rodgers did really well when he came on. Bob Stinger's just mentioned there, Garber in midfield. Didn't think we'd see much of him in a Blackpool shirt again, but he played well against Burnley, to be fair, in that position. Across the park, at the back, Thornley was absolutely fantastic. Couple of last ditch tackles and that clearance sort of on the line. So throughout the team did really well. And yeah, towards the end, we looked the more likely team. And if we could have just got it, there was a couple of a couple of long throws or free kicks towards the end where a bit of a scramble in the box, and we just didn't get that, I suppose, bit of luck you need really, where it just drops to someone. I think, was it Gabriel? Had a chance.
On his wrong foot, didn't it?
Yeah.
Landed on his left. That.
Unfortunately. But overall, you can't have too many complaints. It was a decent performance.
Sorry, John.
So just bring Tim in quickly. Do you think there's, obviously you're a bit more, what's the word? Not as forthcoming in your praise to the way McCarthy's approached the game. Do you think he should have gone for the win a bit earlier than sort of with quarter of an hour to go. 'Cause that's kind of how it seemed to me. Make a few more positive substitutions on 60 minutes, maybe giving the likes of Rodgers a bit more time to penetrate and cause problems.
I had a slightly different view on Bowler, and he didn't play well. But my gut reaction was that with however long it was when he came off, 15 minutes to go, I felt that you needed to leave your game-changing players on because we need wins. Draws don't greatly assist us. And listen, a draw against Burnley at the end of the day was a good result, but sometimes you've got to you've got to twist rather than stick. And I did wonder whether we should just gone slightly more attacking. It's been said in the comments, I thought CJ did quite well when he came on as well. He made a positive contribution. I'd have also been tempted to leave Jerry on. If we, again, look, I'm not saying we leave Bowler and Jerry on, but where maybe one of them should have stayed on because, we just needed to find that little one chance that might have resulted in a win, which would have been a huge, huge, huge result. But maybe that comes another day. I can't be too critical of a team that ekes out a very creditable draw against a team who's averaging 2.5 points for every one that we get.
There's always the danger as well, isn't there? Sorry, Tim, that if we are pushing too much and go too attacking, you get caught, and then we're all sat here going, well, we should have seen that out for a point. They had that break towards the end. It was about 88th minute, wasn't it, where Maxwell's pulled off a wonder save to keep it at 0-0. So it's a fine balance in it. We absolutely need those wins, but it maybe wasn't the game to do it against Burnley, perhaps.
I felt for the first time in a while, in that last 10 minutes, it actually felt like a goal was coming. The sort of atmosphere was building and you could feel that we were, and I'm only saying this slightly impishly to wind Tim up, but I actually, on that second free kick that we had those 2 free kicks on the edge of the box, and the second free kick, I just threw my hands up and went, for fuck's sake, Kenny Dougal. Because if we'd have had a half-decent set-piece taker, and it's not his fault, because Kenny's not, Kenny was taking him because other people weren't on the pitch and so on. But that sense of there were some chances there that could have been better, but we had a spell of pressure, and I honestly can't remember the last spell of pressure we had. I really, really can't remember this last spell of pressure we had. I remember thinking that we played quite well away at Hull when we lost, but even then I can't remember. We sort of had sporadic chances in the game, and there we had 10-15 minutes where we were putting pressure on, we were going forward, we had a run of corners, we had some good set pieces we didn't make the most of. We were sort of, once Medina had come on and we had a bit of physicality, we were able to go long, we were going wide, we were going at them from different angles, and right, we didn't score, but that bodes well for the fact that we actually put 10-15 minutes pressure together consistently. And I can't remember that when we last did that.
Raggy, I was saying to my son and my pal and his son, I actually moved into the north for second half because I was bored senseless in the west. I said, if this goes in, people will be on the pitch.
That's exactly what I thought. Exactly. It was just getting that atmosphere was just getting to.
It was like a pressure cooker building, wasn't it?
It was. It was about to come off that roof, and I think if that had happened, I think it would have been me included. I think I'd have been on in that corner somewhere.
Interestingly, Matt Williams obviously works at Burnley now, and he knows one of the guys in one of my WhatsApp group, and Matt Williams said that's the best atmosphere of any ground he's been to all season. I know he's got Blackpool links, but obviously he goes to every Burnley game. They've played in some big fixtures because, of course, they are one of the big teams in the league. So there tends to be good crowds where they go and good, but they said that's the best he's seen, the best he's heard.
There's a lot of debate as to whether they should let fans down, sell out the East Stand, isn't there? And I think this game, atmosphere-wise, proved the point that I'm of the opinion that give the away fans the entire East, because I think it increases the atmosphere. It gives it a big game atmosphere, and it keeps home fans near the away fans, and it adds to the occasion. I think. Don't know.
I think there was some good banter going on.
Yeah.
I know obviously.
You're going down, we're going up to your mum's your dad's your mum.
Yeah, and there is, and they were, and there was a lot of going backwards and forwards, and they're a strange lot, Burnley. I mean, I think I saw a video and they're like fighting amongst themselves, which I found very, very weird. But they contributed towards what is probably, thinking about it, other than maybe Preston, the best atmosphere of the season, and the Preston atmosphere comes from the goals and the result probably more than anything else. But for a 0-0, it was entertaining to be in the stands, and it was laced with a decent amount of humour on both sides, which was quite good. But I think a lot of teams, I think we surprised a lot of teams with what an atmosphere that we create, and let's hope that we can make that contribution starting on Tuesday night to try and reverse our fortunes a bit, because we've got to remember we've got teams to play. We've got Wigan at home, we've got Cardiff at home, we've got QPR at home. We've got a lot of the teams near the bottom, and they're all 6-pointers, but I think we probably need to win every one of those 3. To give ourselves a chance, and that's a tall order, bearing in mind the fact we've had 1 win since October. But maybe I hear what Mitch says, and maybe when we if we've sought out the back and then sprinkle a bit of stardust up front to try and do something, it can work. But games are running out, and we need points on the board.
I know I've clearly been drinking the Raggy Aid after he's definitely not going down. But I also think if you saw out at the back, it gives some of your better players, some of your stardust, more confidence in taking risks. Because if you are playing in a team, as we have been doing, where you think if you lose the ball, well, that's it. The other team are going to at least have a chance on goal, if not score. You start playing more within yourself. If you're playing in a team where you think you've got a solid unit behind you, then you take that risk because you think, well, it's all right, they'll pick that up. And whether it's Bowler, whether it's Rodgers, whether it's Pervader, whoever it is, whichever of those players, those magic players, or Carey even to an extent, they need to have the belief that they can take those risks. And I don't think they've had that belief in there. In the rest of the team, in the rest of the unit. And it's the first game I've seen in ages where I thought those players believe in each other properly. They really believe in each other. And they came off that pitch and they'd achieved something. It was only a point, but I think that point could be, look, we haven't won for ages, but it's like a catapult. You pull it back, you let it go, and it'll fire. Perfect 12. No, I'm getting carried away. I'm joking, but I think that result will mean a lot to us. And I think also it's the first time really McCarthy, since he took over, since he's had sight of the players, worked with them, got into their heads, understood them. It's the first time he's had any time on the training pitch with them to actually put them together really and coach them. He said so himself in his interview. He said, why was the training? He went, well, I'm not doing any bloody training. It's recovery in games. It's the first time he's had a chance to get into them. And I think maybe I'm over-egging it, but we're staying up.
I mean, for me personally, it's
absolutely bravo.
it's the first time I've come out of that ground feeling positive for quite a while. Nottingham Forest game aside, that was the FA Cup. I actually felt uplifted when I came out.
Yeah, and the Forest game was reserves. It was another team's reserves.
And it could have been 4-4 that game.
Yeah, it could have been 4-4. This was a serious proper team.
Yeah, it did look like we had a game plan and it worked, and they'd spent time together on the training pitch. And it's been able to build on it now, isn't it? And hopefully get the win on Tuesday, which I don't remember the last time that happened. We've been really poor the midweek games, haven't we?
Tuesday, Bristol City.
QPR Tuesday night.
Yeah,
okay.
Next week.
Next Tuesday.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we've obviously got Go on, Maggie.
Sorry, I was just going to say it's a good point by Mitch there about the confidence in the players, and I don't underestimate Connolly's part to play in all that. Now that he's been moved into that midfield role,
Made a massive difference, him and Dougal in there, doesn't it? Huge difference.
You wouldn't mind leaving a bit of a space if you know he's behind you, because he ain't letting anyone go past, is he, without a fight? So, yeah, it's a good point.
That's why I was annoyed when he got booked for that pathetic booking by the ref. I was thinking, oh God, he's going to be playing a bit in himself, but he got through unscathed without a red. Right, as we've just said, a few people send the comments. We've got Bristol City coming up, so we'll cover this before we catch up with the other news. Bristol City away on Saturday. I've been doing a bit of research. I'll give you all a few reasons to be cheerful, shall I? I've been drinking the Raggy-Aid as well. They haven't scored in the last 3 matches. Blackpool haven't lost to Bristol City in their last 7 meetings. We've won 3, drawn 4. Their recent form is as bad as ours. Good, however you want to shake it up. 1 win in 5 for both teams. They've only scored 3 in the last 7, 2 of which were pens. And they've also got a lot of injuries, like us. Some key players missing, including a lad called Matty James. He's one of their key midfielders, and they've only got an academy player as backup now in their midfield. So they're kind of down to the bare bones as well. So anything could happen on Saturday.
3-0 win to them, and then
with the academy player getting an hat trick.
Oh God! Yeah.
So are we jumping in the car then at 6 o'clock in the morning, John, to get down there?
I did say to him, should we go? Then I saw it was a 12:30 kickoff. I thought, no, maybe not.
Cancel me Halifax getaway.
So, what's everyone's gut feel for this?
I'm a bit more positive with what you've just said there. I didn't realise we'd done that well against them in that many games. The problem is it's on Sky, isn't it? Where we don't always do very well in recent seasons.
We're doing playoffs.
But
they're always on Sky.
That's very true. Yeah, and it is kind of cup.
Have a drink
now,
of that Raggy-Aid, Nick. Go on, just have a quick sip. Have a quick drink. Go on.
All cup finals now. All playoff finals. These.
Yeah, pretend they're all cup finals. Well, we'll certainly take confidence from that Burnley performance. So there's no reason why not. You know, it's got to start happening sometime. So why not on Saturday?
I've just had a thought, Raggy. Yeah, there's a chap in the Patreon group who works for Farmyard Breweries. Maybe we could get them to mix up a batch of Raggy-Aid.
Hey, there you go. It could be a bestseller.
If you put some Red Bull in it, you can put Raggy-Aid for when you.
I was going to say it's real ale, Raggy.
We go strapline and everything.
Oh, we can't have any of that real ale rubbish. No chance.
We could do it like
that. Unless
it's not real ale, Nick, because I like it.
We could do a vodka and Smirnoff sour.
Has anyone ever done an IPA with it infused with Red Bull?
This is the chance.
There we go.
Yeah.
Dragon's Den.
I just want on record that this was my idea, by the way.
About being somewhat of the pessimistic persuasion, I've a feeling we might do something on Saturday.
Oh, here we go. Get your money on. 1-0, I think. And
I've not had the Raggy-Aid. I've said a G&T, but I think I don't know. I've just got it in my water that we're gonna get some points. And
we're
more
a bogey
than one.
Side for them.
Points plural.
I think we'll play well, and I think we'll get a point, and I'm fine with that because I think there's plenty of other games that we can get 3 points in. But I think we'll play. I think we'll play all right again.
Let's pick a team then quickly. Formation wise, I was scratching my head as what we were playing. I think it was a 4-4-2, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Well, anybody shouting for Grimshaw? Anyone for Grimshaw?
I'll tell you what I would say was I thought Maxwell's distribution was crap again.
It
was.
But
It was.
he made some good saves. Yeah,
He
did
it
make
has
some
been in a
good
few
saves,
games,
so-
hasn't it? His distribution, unfortunately.
Fucking absolute shite.
I thought it was kind of like 4-1-1, really, with because sort of Carey was up with Yates a lot of the time, but then he'd drop off, or one of them would drop off. So it was more or less 4-4-2, but not quite.
Yeah, it was like the 10 was playing kind of around there, wasn't it?
Yeah, just sort of like hovering off the shoulder. But I mean, they can play that way with those two. It's one advantage at overplaying Gaz, where they can both drop in and both go beyond each other, which they did quite well.
Do you know, this game, this Bristol City game, is crying out for a 4-4-2 with Yates and Big Gaz.
Do you drop Sonny? I thought he was pretty close to being man of the match. But then to be fair, I've got to be clear to everybody that I'm quite clearly preparing the ground for Sonny being the new player that I will not couch any criticism with when Gaz moves on. So,
Is that why you're going to... He could end up at Halifax or somewhere like that, couldn't he? Are you like getting yourself an Airbnb sorted for regular trips there or something?
Maybe staking out where he'll be.
Okay, I think it's hard to drop Maxwell after his performance, isn't it? I think that'd be harsh.
You can't drop him.
No, even I would concede that one.
Yeah. Centre halves picks itself again, doesn't it?
They were both really good. I thought Avitt was brilliant.
Had it on.
And can we believe Thornley's not signed up for next year yet? And it's
just getting signed up.
Jesus Christ.
It's on the notes, that Tim. But yeah,
sorry.
It's bizarre that. Maybe he doesn't want to sign.
Can you
don't
blame
know.
him? Can you blame him
I
for
wouldn't
not
sign
signing?
him.
I would love to hear the story one day about what has gone on with him, with this club. It's weird.
If he leaves, I'll get in contact with him. We'll do an
He's
interview.
he's never put a foot wrong. His place just keeps getting turfed out, then dropped, put back in, brought back
Sent
off
on loan.
It's
Sent on
weird.
loan. Dropped from the entire squad.
But it does look like a nice, quiet fella. He doesn't look like he's a juggle coach.
Maybe that's his problem, Raggy. Maybe he's too nice.
Maybe.
I've said that before. It's almost like seems like a nice lad who managers almost think, well, I want to bring this player in, I want to bring my player. He won't mind. He won't make a fuss. If you sort of drop Gaz or someone, he's going to cause problems in the dressing room. Or if you drop, Bowler, then everyone's going to kick up a fuss. But Thornley just looks like a lad will go, oh, all right then, and get on with it. And I think that might be his problem. But I noticed on Saturday, so I'm going on, but I noticed on Saturday, he actually was more like vocal than I'd seen him. And there was one point where Connolly had an absolutely shocking pass and they broke on us and they nearly scored. And Jud walked right out to him, put his arm round, got right in his ear, and kind of then go on, and that's the side of him I'd not really seen before. And he's giving everything for us.
Right. Left back, right back.
Gabe's is one.
Gabriel's
right back. Gabe's was good on Saturday, really good.
And then, I'd have Lyons or his husband injured. I don't know. Is he
dropped?
On the bench? Dropped.
On the
Well,
bench.
either of them. I wouldn't have Dom Thompson. I mean, he played all right on Saturday, but it's just.
I read something about Thompson's inclusion actually, that Mick McCarthy went like for like with their right winger because he's really quick. I can't remember his name.
Tella.
Was
it Tella? Yeah.
Yeah, he wanted to match up Tella with an athlete basically. So it was quite it was a tactical masterstroke there.
Well, it's fair play. But he's not our best left back. That's what I think.
No,
anyway.
absolutely not. So I think the options there are husband and Lyons.
Personally, I'd play Lions, but
I'd play Lions. I think he'll play husband, but I would play. We're picking our team. I would play Lions.
I would.
I'd quite like to see Lyons play left back before deciding he can play left back, because I know he's played left wing back, but not as convinced he's played left back in a 4. But I've said that before, because if you're playing left wing back in 5, you've always got a left-sided centre half who can cover you, so effectively become your de facto left back.
Maybe Hubby. Maybe it's a game to drop Hubby back in. The experience.
there's three would put Lyons in. I think it depends on what their right winger's like, doesn't it?
Yeah.
If their right winger's a nippy little thing, then you're probably going to have to play Tomo because Hubby got roasted, didn't he, the other week? But if it's more of a, I can't really remember how Bristol play. If they're a bit more direct, then you play Hubby because you get the, he's very good in the air and you get the physical strength out of him. But I don't know. Without having Sean, I haven't got a clue what the other team.
Yeah, we need Sean there. Where's Sean when you need him?
Sean,
let's just throw Lions in, shall we?
Yeah, I'll let that slide.
Nick,
Yeah.
Tim, yeah,
Yep. I think Lions could also do a job left midfield, to be fair, as well, which would sort of deals with Mitch's point about having cover. Because he's most certainly played there, I think, for Ireland and Shamrock, hasn't he? On the left-hand side of midfield. So, and he's a good, strong defensive player and pushes on as well. So, I'd half like to see him there, to be fair. But anyway, we'll stick at left back for now.
Could always go crazy and put Garbutt there. Put Lyons in front to do the defending and Garbutt behind him to do the attacking.
I think based on the performance that they were on last Saturday, it's Dougal and where is
Connolly, yeah.
Connolly. I keep forgetting he's in the defenders column. Yeah.
I see Bridcut's injured again, isn't he?
Yeah, that's it. He's done. He's done,
Out for
Tim.
the season.
That's it. Last we've seen of him.
What a
Joking
signing. What a signing that is.
We'll do a dedicated podcast just on injuries and players who've not played for us all season or half a game or whatever it is.
Captained by the shopping trolley. Right wing. Now, Bowler didn't do himself any favours, did he?
The school of thought that says Bowler's better coming off the bench is gathering momentum. He feels aggrieved. He comes on and he puts more in 20 minutes than you get out of him in the first 60 or 70.
I'd always play him on the right wing anyway, but especially with Gabriel fullback overlapping him. If we're 4-4-2,
yeah.
But I know what you mean about him coming on. But I'm an advocate. I'm an advocate for getting our best players on the pitch.
Yeah. So am I.
The problem is, I also feel there's something a bit similar with Rodgers, where I can't remember how many games he started, but he's come on 3 or 4 times and really sparkled and looked spot on. But when he started, he hasn't really lasted the course in the same way as Bowler. And I feel like with both of them, you've got sort of players that can come on and really cause particularly when there's a game's in a pattern and a fullback has been defending one threat, to have a player like one of those two comes on who will present something completely different to you. You get that impact, and I feel like the same's for both of them really, which is I don't know. I think stick Bowler in there. I just think you just have to
carry Bowler a bit more though, don't you? If it's not happening,
you do, but he's also fucking brilliant when he's on, and sooner or later he's got to click, and if he clicks, he could be worth 2 goals, 3 goals for us.
He can just produce that moment of magic, can't he, from nothing as well.
Yeah, and
I've never seen Bowlers and Rodgers start together at the same time, I don't think. Have we?
No.
Let's put him in then. Rodgers starting for everyone or CJ?
Well, I'm going to say
there's a shout for Garbutt, isn't there?
I'm going to say an odd thing, which it depends who we're going to play up front as to who I want to play. Whether we're going to stick Carey in as we did, or whether we're going to play Gaz. Because I think if you're going to play, depending on who you play, you might have to stiffen your midfield a bit more. If you're going to play, and it might depend on whether you want crosses or whether you want people cutting in and passing, if that makes sense as well.
I would play Rodgers.
I'm playing Rodgers. Maggie?
Yeah, I would, but I hear that. I do. Then it would be Yates and Carey for me instead of Medine, but there you go.
Yeah, but I'd be tempted to go the same.
Shall
Who
we
knows?
start?
Carey might turn into our elusive goal-scoring striker at some point here.
Well, Carey's scoring more. He's the most prolific striker we've got, isn't he?
Mm.
I'm going for Medine. I love a big man, me.
No, so last year, John.
Get Lavery on then.
He's
Lavery,
the big fella. The big fella's injured, Raggy, remember?
What? By the way, what's happened to Pervader? What has happened to him?
God, yeah. Yes.
Well, there was that story that him and Fiorini left the ground at 1:30 in the same car. Whether that's true or not, I have absolutely no idea. But neither of them were in the squad.
I got told that on the day from someone that was up in the corporate gods, and maybe they did, but I don't know.
I mean,
He's
he
not
said
injured,
that
though, is he?
the Burnley game, the reason they weren't in the squad, it wasn't. I think I can't remember the exact words, but along the lines of it wasn't a game for them.
Yeah, but that's bullshit, though, isn't it?
I know. I'm not saying agree
He
with
also
it. If
he
that's
also
what he
said
told them, I can understand why they probably thought, right, well, off we go then. You know.
he also said something, didn't he? I don't know whether it was in the club interview or the BBC one or whatever, but he said something that was a bit odd about how Pervader had a knock on Friday in training. He'd taken a knock to his back in training. And then Mick picked the team, and after he'd picked the team, Pervader said, "Well, I was all right to play." And Mick said, "Well, you could have bloody told me earlier, but I haven't picked you anyway." Because it's not, and that was quite an odd story about how sort of it seemed a bit like he'd picked the team, and then Pervader was kicked off that he wasn't in. I don't know. I was reading between the lines there, but he picked the team, and then Pervader kicked off, and Mick said, "Well, last I knew you had a back injury." Well, I haven't. You can sort of see that maybe Pervader's not the greatest communicator in the world, or maybe not making quite as clear that he's desperate to play on Friday in training. Maybe he's wandered off, limped off, or I'm a bit hurt, fancy an early finish or whatever, and Mick's thought, "I'm not having that."
Anyway, who we putting in as number 10?
You can't leave Carey out.
No, Carey's really good. He was really good. And he links it. Look, and I want Medine doing what he did. I want him coming on for 15, 20 minutes and running around like a maniac, knocking people over, giving everything. He's not fit enough to give us 80 minutes of quality Medine, but 15 minutes of quality Medine. He's spot on. But Carey will link it up. Carey needs a footballer.
Imagine that being
football with him.
Stick Carey in. Come on, we've been
75 minutes is Medine time.
Okay.
Imagine that being your tactics. What's my job, boss? Run round and knock people over, guys. That's it. Knock people over. That's great.
Plenty of shithousery.
Yeah.
Round and knock people. Right. Once that goes on social media, we'll have all sorts of shit coming our way, no doubt. But... What the fuck's that?
The team won't look like that anyway, will it?
No.
Bizarre.
So Maxwell, Lyons, Thornley, Nelson, Gabriel, Bowler on the right, Connolly, Dougal in the middle, Rogers on the left. Tiring after 65 minutes and Shuttlecock coming on. Yates and Carey, Big Gaz to come on with 15 minutes to go, knock a few people over and smash a volley into the top corner to win the game 2-0 to the Seasiders. And that's my prediction. What are yours, gentlemen? Mitch, let's start with you.
Well, I said before, I fancy us to play really well but get a draw. So I'm going to go for 1-1 with us leading quite a long time. Or the other way round. One, they get an early goal and we play really, 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 really well for ages. Looks like we're not going to get it. And then comes the Gary goal. Gary game-changing goal.
Nick?
1-0 to us.
Ruggy?
1-0 to us.
Temping Gaz.
Do you know there's two Dixons? There's a David Dixon and a Pete Dixon piping up in the comments. Are you brothers? Chuckle Brothers.
I know you haven't even asked me what I was going
Sorry,
to say.
Tim. Go on. Sorry, Tim. Go on.
I'm going, listen.
Yeah, I know you're going to say 3-0 to Bristol City. So
No. 2-0 to Blackpool I'm going for.
2-0.
2-0. And I'm still thinking about jumping in my car at 6 o'clock in the morning. So there you go.
John's just set off, clearly.
Oh, you can't. There's no. You can't buy tickets on the day, though, can you?
No,
Apparently.
it's no.
I missed that, Tim. Did you say you're going? You're going to jump in?
No,
the
I
car?
just said I'm still tempted to jump in my car at 6 o'clock, but
Well, it's fast enough to get there pretty quick.
I drive sedately. I'll have you know, John. Driving Miss Daisy.
I actually thought we were going to die once when we were in Tim's car. I was half asleep on the way back. I think Eddie was on his iPad. You don't remember all of a sudden, like bang!
Yeah.
The brakes slammed on. I saw
did
my life
shout.
flash. Saw my life flash before my eyes.
I was in the middle lane of the motorway and some twat was going about 30 mile an hour in the middle lane. I think he slowed right down. I can't remember now whether he slowed right down. He was going that fast anyway, but it was mental.
Pete's just said he has a chauffeur. Yeah, where's the chauffeur?
I'm your chauffeur.
What, Ronnie Biggs' chauffeur? Oh, you mean John's? Sorry.
Yeah.
Ronnie Biggs has got a chauffeur. Of course he has. All that money he's got stashed.
Of course he has. Dave Courtney.
We've seen how much money he's been spending on podcast gear today.
Oh, yeah.
He's obviously been into the trove of
The stash.
the stash.
He's dug up a bit of the loot out of his back garden, hasn't he?
When he said he was having his drains rodded, that's not what he was doing.
Yeah.
He was digging the loot up.
Right, we've got a few more things to cover before we head off. 4 years since the homecoming. Doesn't time
Incredible,
fly?
Incredible. It's probably. I mean, obviously, just to get a bit of context. Obviously, we'd gone into the club the Monday of the week before, deliberately after a home game, to give ourselves a bit of breathing space. And Jesus Christ, did we need it? And my overriding memory has just been how stressed I was in the build-up, because I was convinced something was going to go wrong. I was convinced it was going to go tits up. The game nearly got called off on the Friday because it was chucking it down, and there's that horrible bit in the corner, and the groundsman, I've forgotten his name now, God bless him, because he's passed on, hasn't he? He managed to salvage it with some help from the lads.
Gary Lewis.
Gary Lewis, yeah, and
That bit where the Ormerod and Biggs money was buried.
Yeah, the big.
Yeah.
But all the people cleaning the seats and the build up, and
Yeah, he stashed his gold under there, didn't he? He stashed his. Sorry, Tim. Go on.
yeah, no, but I'm just saying, it's like the whole build up to that game on the Saturday was absolutely incredible, but I was convinced something was going to go wrong, and it didn't. And that's a testament, really, to everybody behind the scenes, fans, staff, and the much maligned interim board, because we made it happen, and I think it was an extremely special day, and it's something that I'll never forget, and I'm sure anybody who else went will never forget. I can never stop watching Wayne's video when it's panning around. I was thinking about it as the intro music came on, because obviously the We're Into Something Good is part of that, isn't it? And that going on for like 25 minutes before kickoff is just spine tingling.
I wouldn't know because I was on a plane flying over at the time.
When you see the pictures of the pitch, though, how shit did the pitch look?
I thought that today when I saw it.
Yeah.
Don't you forget, don't you?
It's funny, because I presume Grice is watching this, Andy Grice. Well, we sat in Witherspoons on the day before that with 420 tickets, I think it was, on the prom, where everyone came to us to get their tickets, because we bought them in one big batch, didn't we? Put 420 tickets all behind the net in one go, just so we could get everyone together behind that net.
Do you remember, I was trying to get the whole of the north for Blackpool, and the ground safety officer wouldn't have it because the tickets had already been sent out to Southend. I said, look, there's only going to be about 200 there. It's not a big issue for us to contact Southend and say, we've moved you into the southeast corner or wherever, I said, we need to get as many, and he was not having it. And we had to like let it go in the end. But I was a bit frustrated we didn't have all the north, but it didn't matter. We had the rest of the ground.
Yeah. Listen, it couldn't have been better, could it? The whole thing. The whole day couldn't have been better. There you go. Grice's credit card maxed out. I think the bill was about 10 grand.
Well, do you remember we couldn't buy tickets? We couldn't sell tickets till about the Wednesday before the game because we had no card machines, and we didn't have a bank account because if we paid it into the normal bank account, Owen could still, as far as we were concerned, he could still access it if he'd wanted, and a large amount of money had gone missing just before we came in. So it was an incredibly stressful time, but it all just came together, and it was the most magical day. The weather was meant to be crap, and it was actually quite sunny in the end. We get the last minute equaliser, so it's not it would never have been a damp squib, but it'd have been, it wouldn't have been nice to have lost the game. And it just the kitchens got going, the hospitality got going. There was everybody with the Blackpool our back scarves. It was almost like everything came together in a way that you just couldn't imagine, and it was just Blackpool fans doing what Blackpool fans do, and very, very special.
Well done, Tim, by the way, for organising that. Didn't realise how much you were involved in it. It must have been a hell of a stressful
full
day.
time at that stage. I was actually out with in Curry and Ben Hatton on Friday. I know we're going to go on to talk about the structured dialogue meetings. So I couldn't meet it then, but it's a special time for them as well. We always meet up in around the anniversary and reminisce about it all, and have a good chuckle about all the stuff and all the nonsense that went on and everything. And they were both in good form. And I messaged them today with Happy Homecoming Day, and they both came back and acknowledged it. So it's good.
My abiding memory, obviously, I was devastated because I was on holiday. I've not been on a foreign holiday since then. Typical. I always remember coming back to I think it was the day after when I got back, and I saw that banner raggy outside the Excelsior with Owen
and Carl's head.
Rob Purden had done.
Brilliant. Ben Hatton was telling me a story, said, because he'd promised you and Grimmy that he'd come for a drink in the Excelsior before the game. And he says, so I felt I had to go. And he said, so I came with my son, and he said, my son was about 15 at the time, 14 or 15.
I remember
and
it.
He said, it's the only time, as we turned the corner and we saw the chaos, he said, it's the only time I can remember, I don't think he's done it since, where he grabbed hold of my hand and held it as we walked in.
Yeah.
Like a bear pit in there, wasn't it?
It was beyond even art. I knew it was going to be something else that day because we had, like say, 400 that we had bought for all lads together. And I knew that was going to be there. So the whole pub was going to be full and that. But it was 1,000 plus by the time it came to the... I think it was even more than that. The whole street to shut the street, didn't it? The whole of the road was bleeding blocked off. And
what's happened to those banners, by the way? Where are they now?
They're in the club, they're in the Armfield Club.
Are they? Whereabouts?
Upstairs in one of the back rooms.
Oh, right.
No, not up. No, we can't put them up. They're too big. They're wrapped up upstairs.
Ah, right. Okay.
In one of the back rooms.
Maybe you should drape them out for time's sake.
We should do, really. I wanted that one hanging outside of the stand, really, but they weren't in favour of it. With Owen and Carl's head hanging.
Okay, another bit of news. This is probably we'll skip through these because we're on over an hour and 10. The accounts are out, and also the meeting minutes are out from the structured dialogue. Shall we go through this in more detail on another pod, or shall we do it all now?
Probably so. Otherwise,
I think to do it justice. Yeah.
Okay.
And they've both just come out today, haven't they? So actually, I'll be honest, I haven't had a chance to look at either.
Yeah. Okay.
I will just say on there. I did say on the WhatsApp group before, didn't I? But what I've read there is very accurate of what went on the night. I assume because they videoed it, they've obviously looked back and took the exact wording what was said. And people were asking the questions, and you know, there was a couple of people that were getting a little bit heated at times. Not sure why, but one or too many drinks. But it was all in good form. But Simon Sadler, we've got a special guy there, by the way. He was on form, Simon Sadler, and he's always seemed like I don't know what the right word is, but it's always seemed like a very nice fella and everything, and he is a very nice fella. But you knew the other night that he was in charge, and there's no one been making decisions in that football club without his say so. So when people get on Ben Mansford's back and think it's all on him, I doubt that very much. And he was open and honest, and I think we're in good hands. And I think we've definitely got the best owner we could get, and he's going to look after us, I'm sure.
I mean, I've just skimmed over it, and the figures he's pumping into the club has been and is going to be pumping in, kind of backs up what Raggy's just said there.
He's talking 90 million quid. Is earmarked,
yeah.
isn't he?
Yeah,
yeah. And what's been spent on the club so far is double what I had in my head, if I'm honest with you. And I said that night. You know, a couple of things. I did question about the East stand that night, about the fans and all that, because I don't like them having the whole stand. But I did question why. For years, you've told us you can't have away fans next to us in the north. You have to have them at the other end. But it's all right when you sell the whole stand out. So why not just put them in there anyway? When they've only got half of it, put them down the north side of the ground.
Yeah, it creates a better match day experience, doesn't it?
Match day, better atmosphere, and we'll drown them out all day. So anyway, obviously there's money. I know there's financial implications to all that, and that's obviously what it's about, isn't it? It's not my money, is it? And obviously, who am I to question him when he's putting so much in that respect? But that was my view on it. And my only other points of the night really were to say to him that, and to everyone there, that how anyone ever, you read nonsense online about everything, don't you? But how anyone can mention him in the same breath as an Oyston is a disgrace, and it should never happen. No. You question him on his own merits, and he shouldn't be. Don't ever put him in that bracket with them shysters. Two worlds apart. He'll make mistakes. He's admitted he made some mistakes and all that, but he's doing it with the right intentions of this football club in this town. Not like them bleeding thieves. Am I allowed to say that? Am I allowed to say that now, or will I get sued again for saying that? Or have we proven it now?
You'll have to ask Jez.
Well, it's not just that, Raggy. It's also that you talk about Oyston. There's not. I mean, his criminality, his literal criminality, is known by everyone. It's just fucking disgraceful to just lazily compare him to Oyston. And you learn absolutely nothing from it. If you want to judge the job he's doing, compare him to his peers, compare him to the other people who are running clubs of our size, and look at him against them. It's just lazy, and it's just to get a rise online, and it's not right.
No, that's it. It needs to stop, and it's not. We've got a good bloke there who's going to look after us.
And we've turned a profit.
Well, we have, but we've turned a profit because of
the money he's put in.
Because of the injection of money he's put in. But I think it's important to understand when you talk about breaking even or you talk about making a profit in the Championship, the last time I looked at the Championship financial figures was... I can't remember what year it was, but that year only one club came anywhere near breaking even. And so even if we have lost 3 million out with Sadler's injection, that's actually relatively a strong financial performance in the Championship, because there are clubs that are hemorrhaging money to the sum of 10, 15, 20, 30, 35 million in this division.
Cardiff 29.
The majority of clubs. You can pick out one or two, but the vast majority of clubs are losing a lot of money,
Yeah, Cardiff 30 million in the hole. Yeah.
Well, when Wigan went under, or nearly went under, they'd lost something like 8 to 12 million year on year repeatedly, and the outcome of that is they nearly went bust.
We've got the community trust as well, which seems to be going from strength to strength under Simon Sadler. As never mind the bollocks, it's the Seasiders, as just said. And just one thing that's popped in my head as I skim the meeting minutes, that I think they said, the club's obviously running costs are through the roof now. The electricity bill's doubled, but the community trust is still running this keep warm hub for families to come to during the day and have a meal. I mean, what the clubs are doing, those sort of things, and it must come at quite a large expense to.
To be fair, the
Simon.
community trust were doing a great job even under the oysters in very trying circumstances. But under Ashley Hackett's stewardship, they're way ahead of where, in my view, a lot of trusts are in what they do and the breadth of what they do and the reach they have and the number of people's lives that they positively impact on. It is quite humbling in a way to see how a community-based organisation like that that's linked to us is so innovative and repeatedly innovative. They run schools within the football club for kids who don't really fit into the mainstream. Like I said, they're doing all sorts of stuff to engage with vulnerable adults on all sorts of levels. They help they run the girls football, they get involved with the walking football and the vets football, and anything that involves anything that helps mental well-being. They're right at the forefront of it. It's the presents for the kids at Christmas. You could go on and on and on.
Tangerine teammates coming down to all the grassroots club.
Yeah, on and on and on. It makes you very proud, I think, in relation to the work that they do and the way that the club and people involved in the club support it as well.
Well, I think, I don't want to go back to what we started the show with, but one of the things I've seen a lot on Twitter is people saying football is this, football is this, football has that, this is... But football is also a fucking brilliant thing that brings people together. And we saw that on Monday. We've seen that on sort of the way people have come together and supported families. And we see that in the community trust. And football does so many things. And so many people are so quick to run down football because sometimes it's not necessarily, it's not as shiny as they want it to be, or it's not as slick as it wants to be. But our club is something to be proud of. What have we got in this world now that we can connect with? What have we got that brings people together?
Would us five be sat here like
exactly
this?
100%. People from all different backgrounds, people from all different values coming together around a thing. Where the fuck does that happen anywhere else? So, people can say what they want about football. It's a wonderful thing for whatever else it is. It's a wonderful thing. It does a lot for people.
Absolutely. I think Nick and I wouldn't know each other if it wasn't for Blackpool games. Obviously, we're the only two that knew each other before doing this pod, but that's how we kind of met. Just through going to Blackpool games and raves, wasn't it? So
I was going to say that and clubbing.
Raves.
Yeah.
Do you have your glow sticks and your white gloves on?
I think John might have had glow sticks at one point, possibly.
I was too pilled up to remember, Raggy.
Yeah, if you think you were on it with that Red Bull, Raggy, you've never seen anything like it. 20 cans. That's a podcast in itself. Yeah, I totally agree, though. It where would we be without it? It brings it all together, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yep. Right, just two more pieces before we head off. Just hearing back to football again. Keshi's back. Played for the development squad. Was it 60 minutes against the Nobbers? Could this be the catalyst that keeps us up?
Well, he'll be handy. I think he'll be a little while yet. I think I read a report that he looked a little way off being fit in that development game, but it was minutes he needed. I think he'll be a little while yet. But I mean, Kesh should be brilliant because he gives you both sides. He goes forward, but he gets stuck in. He tackles, and I think he'd give you the advantage of the luxury player without actually being a luxury player if he's fit and if he doesn't limp out after 25 minutes again.
Which is probably what's going to happen.
Well, I'll find some wood to touch there. My floor's wood. I've touched that.
I've got some MDF. I've got my desks made of MDF. I'll touch that. Does that count?
It does.
And finally, Jud's contract. We mentioned this earlier. It came out on Twitter that he's not. He kind of refused to answer the question. If anyone seen it, then it doesn't bode well, does it? From signing
I think
on the
we should
dotted
start
line.
a campaign. I think we should start a concerted campaign to get Judd a new contract.
I mean, there's probably not too much you can say, is it? Because you don't know whether it's we're not offering it or it's he's made his mind up and there's something elsewhere. And I wouldn't blame him if it was the latter, because it doesn't seem to matter which manager it is. Sooner or later he gets shunted out the side for seemingly no good reason. And I can understand it if he let us down when he played, but he doesn't. He should be one of the first names on the team sheet, and it's criminal. It almost takes 2, 3, 4 injuries before he's
It's a joke.
before he's considered. So I won't blame him if he's thought I'm going to go elsewhere and hopefully get picked week in, week out. And I think whatever division we're in next season, if he's playing for us, he'd be a massive asset, and it'll be a real shame when he goes.
Mm-hmm. He'll probably end up at Plymouth with everyone else that's sleeping, having the time of their life.
Yeah.
Having the time of their life, they are, aren't they?
Yeah.
What was even his name? Was it Wright?
Yeah,
His
right.
first name?
Callum Wright.
Callum Wright.
Callum
Oh,
Wright.
but he's loving it now, isn't he?
Scored the other
Right.
night, didn't he?
Ryan
and-
Hardy.
And
They both
Hardy.
scored.
Yeah. Both laughing the cocks off down there, aren't
Oh,
they?
aye.
All the Ginsters pasties they can eat as well. That's probably in the contract. Right? And on that note, I think we'll call it a day there. So yeah, thanks for your company, gents. Obviously, especially thanks to you, Raggy, for coming on. Sure, it's
Oh,
been
no problem.
a very trying week for you and everyone that knew Tony. As I've said in that banner there, I think we'll dedicate this podcast to the memory of Tony Johnson. Fully, condolences to his family and friends, and we hope there's brighter days ahead.
No, it's
So-
appreciated, and I'll pass it on as well. when I
Yeah.
speak.
R.I.P. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think we'll just, rather than saying up the pool, we'll just end this podcast by saying thanks for listening, thanks for that, and rest in peace, Tony Johnson. Rest in peace, Tony.
rest in peace.
Tony.